Okay, now we're going to come to another great recipe. Okay, there's nothing better than spring lamb, but you know, there's so many cuts of meat out there. I would actually speak and, you know, talk with your butcher, discuss what you want. For me, I prefer using the shoulder of lamb because it's cheap. It is a cheap cut, and although it's slow roasting, it gives you a great platform to use. And if you've got any left over, you can actually reuse it and cook it and maybe do a curry with it. And we all like a curry, but it's just a fantastic piece of meat, and I just think it's great. So what we're going to do here is simple recipe. Is I've got again some of the garlic and ginger, which is on the website, and which you can download for that. Great tool. A little bit of olive oil, some red wine, which is left over. Or I say left over if you've got any hanging around. If you haven't got red, don't worry. Even this will work with white wine. And then what we're going to do here is I've got a baking tray, I've got the oven which is on preheated oven, and I'm just going to slash into the meat. Okay, I'm just going to score into it, and then what I'm doing, I'm actually just making a pocket, and then I just take the garlic and the ginger and some herbs and rub it in, and then you can just chuck in your garlic and your ginger. You can then take what rosemary you need, your sprigs, and you can just strip those off. Okay, you can take your oil, and then you can just massage in it. And the great thing about this is this is so therapeutic as well. Pop in the butter. Okay, and I'm just going to pop in a little bit of the, I'll say a little bit, I'm just going to pop in a glass of wine. Okay, this is great. And the great thing about this is what we're doing here is we're going to pop this into the oven, we're going to tin foil it, but this is then, the juices that are in there are going to be the basis of your sauce and your gravy. So what we're going to do is just going to pop this into a preheated oven. You're probably looking about gas 4, gas 5 on average, probably around 170, 180, 340, 350. Okay, and I'm just going to pop that in there. And as I say, that's going to need, depending on your weight, I would check that after a couple of hours, but we're talking slow roasting here. And what we've got here is just a different way of having some vegetables in again. And all I've done is I've spoken to my local veg man. I've got some cheap veg and potatoes, and I've just compiled them together, roughly chopped them up. And what we're going to do is we're just going to pop these cut items into a bowl. A little bit of pepper, some salt in there, a little bit of olive oil. Okay, that we're just going to marinate those. I've got some rosemary that you can just chuck in, but if you've got any thyme or anything else in the garden, is great. I've just got a little bit of sage, which I'm just going to pop in there as well. I'm just going to mix these up, just coat them up. And what we're going to do is I'm just going to pop those into a baking tray, and these are going to go into the oven about halfway through the cooking time. I've got the potatoes and the veg. I'm just going to pop them in. I'm just going to swap that over and remove the foil from the lamb. I'm just going to pop this onto a plate. All this juice that I've got, I'm just going to pop onto a heat, and I'm just going to reduce this down a little bit. As I say, we're just going to get all the flavours out of the tin. Okay, the vegetables are again done, so bring them to one side. And what we're going to do is just going to make a quick sauce. But the great thing about this is I'm just going to use cold butter, which I've got a few pieces, and I'm just going to pop in, holding obviously with a cloth and a tray, and you're just going to melt that actual butter while you've still got the butter into the sauce. Okay, you need to keep an eye on it, because if it melts too much, your sauce is going to split. Okay, so just gentle shakes until it starts thickening up. The great thing about this is that I've just taken some spring lamb, utilising the shoulder, which is underrated. It's a good cut of meat and it's very flavoursome. Okay, it's slow cooking and it takes a long time to cook, but the results are phenomenal. And the great thing about this is that if you've got any left over, you can turn it into a great curry, and it freezes really well. A good thing about the meat is that we have a rule that if you've got any frozen meat in the freezer, okay, which is raw, once you defrost it, okay, you can't really refreeze the frozen meat, but what you could do is once you've cooked it, you can actually refreeze it.